Hello and welcome back to the Jaunty Mantis podcast. This is a podcast full of creative questions for curious gamers. It's about TTRPGs. It's about nerd garbage. It's about two guys. That's us. I got my co-host Jesse here, and I'm Matty. Jesse, what do we have on the table today for our lovely audience in Season 2?
Season 2, Creations Without Number.
Oh, okay. So we're going to keep the name then.
Yeah, I liked it.
Oh, okay. All right. Workshopping complete. We did it, guys.
We did it on air.
That's right.
On tubes.
That's right. And Season 2 of the Jaunty Mantis is devoted entirely to the creative process. That's something that Jesse and I like to do together around gaming, around tabletop RPGs, around Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games. And we thought, why not devote Season 2 to sharing our process and give our audience a little bit of insight into how we plan for games, how we create campaign settings, how we design worlds. And Jesse, what kind of tool set are we using in order to accomplish this task?
Well, like most of the episodes this season, we are once again using the fabulous tables and tools written and created by Kevin Crawford of Sine Nomine Publishing. And in today, since our last couple episodes, we did cyberpunk, we're now going to fantasy with his book, Worlds Without Number. And I do want to put a slight little twist on this. Mm-hmm. Worlds Without Number is definitely what I would consider to be more of weird fantasy.
Perfect.
It is more like the Dying Earth than it is the Forgotten Realms of Faerun.
Awesome. Yeah, Kevin Crawford, he's the man. The books that he's written, those are our tools and resources. If this was a podcast from the early 2000s, we would tell you to drink every time we mention Sine Nomine or Kevin Crawford or a, with numbers or without numbers or whatever. But you'd be drunk by now and an alcoholic, and you should probably seek help. But maybe we could fill up your bingo card for this episode. Kevin Crawford, Sine Nomine. All right.
And if you are worried, just remember, if you can do dry January, then you can just be like, well, I did try January, so obviously I don't have a problem, which is what I do every year.
Yeah. And I do have a problem, so I just stopped drinking altogether. All right, here we go. Jesse, our last series of episodes, our last 3 episodes were cyberpunk. This one's going to be fantasy. Can I put you on the spot to give us another killer intro?
A killer? Oh, like I did last time?
Yeah. You can opt out if you want.
Oh, all right. Just getting limber.
Was that it?
Stoke the last coals in the fire, for the wind blows chill. Much now resides beneath the ash. The world is old and groaning. The ruins of ancient peoples and ancient days and conquerors from beyond the stars litter the cracked and barren wasteland. This is weird fantasy.
All right, you heard it, folks. It's weird fantasy. And Kevin Crawford, he has a system. We've been rolling on tables in our cyberpunk setting. Are we going to do something similar here, Jesse?
We will, but we're going to start way up high at the world level, and this is just some questions, which I'm really looking forward to talking about, because this is how we've come up with some of the craziest shit that we never followed through on.
That's true. Yeah. So if you're playing at home, the book is called Worlds Without Numbers by Sine Nomine Publishing. Kevin Crawford is the author. And if you haven't picked up on it yet, we're also trying to support this guy and his company and these books. There are free versions out there, so definitely go check them out. See how awesome this book is for yourself, and then buy
it. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start, because it's been 3 episodes since we talked about it. The Golden Rules of Preparation from Saint Kevin Crawford. Question 1 to ask yourself: am I having fun building this? If the answer is no, guess what his advice is? Do you have any guesses, Matty?
Stop.
Yep. Yep. Don't do a thing that you don't enjoy as your hobby. And then the other question is, am I going to need this for the next session of play?
What happens if you discover you don't need it for the next session of play?
Well, I think if you're having fun, hey, keep going. And if you're not having fun, stop. So we're going to go through the questions.
Okay. What page are the questions on?
We're on page 117, building your backdrop. Did you hear me put on my teacher voice when I did that?
Yeah.
Still got it.
Yep. Okay. We're going to start at the list, top of this list.
Yeah. And I don't know. Tell me what you think, that maybe we should save this one for last. But the first one is, what is the name of this world for people in your campaign scope?
And you want to save this for last?
I want to save it till we answer the other ones, because we're just going to name the world before we know anything about it.
Yeah, this is an oddly placed question. You know, once Kevin Crawford hears these podcasts and is like, oh my God, you guys are awesome. Can I totally come on your show? And we're like, yes, of course. We can ask him questions like this. Like, why is this one first? But I see what you're saying. Let's put it last.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm going to be like, our world is called Stankonia, like the Outcast album.
See, people, do not be intimidated by this creative process.
Okay, here's a fun one. Question 2.
Yes.
Are natural physical laws mostly the same as in our world? And then there's some great examples of this. If there are multiple moons, a lack of stars, a great crystal dome over a flat Earth, or some other obvious global novelty of reality, you need to decide on it at this point, because the PCs will likely know about it as a societal commonplace.
Interesting. Okay. So we stylize this as weird fantasy.
Yeah.
So does that mean we want to go full weird fantasy on this one? Do we want to go a sky without stars?
I think a sky without stars is good. And I think it'd be cool if there's like a couple of moons and one of them is just straight up a massive skull.
Oh, beautiful.
Like,
I love that. I love you and I love the way you think.
Like a clearly vaguely round, but clearly humanoid or human skull that just leers down at the world every time the sun goes down.
I love this because when it's time for people, because like listeners, when we're doing this process, we always imagine that this is going to actually be a game. And I love the idea of putting this idea and this concept in front of our players, and then having that one person be like, is there anything I really need to know about the world? It's like, oh yeah, there's a giant skull in the sky and there are no stars. And just leave it at that. Like, what does that do to a society of people?
Yeah.
Is that so normal they don't think about it? You know what I mean? Like,
why is the grim visage of death itself constantly staring down at you from the otherwise empty night sky? Yeah. Well, you know, opinions about the skull are like assholes. Everybody's got one and they all stink.
I love it. I love it. So our answer to this question is no. Well, are we gonna run roughshod with the rest of like the physical laws and other aspects of that are similar to our world? Or are we just gonna make it this one? Or are we gonna leave that open-ended?
Let's leave that open-ended and see if something else guides us. But for right now, there are no stars. There's a couple of moons. How about the skull doesn't orbit?
Oh, it's just a fixed position in the sky?
It's just in the same place every night.
I love it. All right, I'm into it.
I don't even know if that works with the sun that orbits, but like you just don't see it at day.
All right. Yeah, I'm into it. I like this idea.
And then I just, for some reason, I just thought of the mighty Boosh, like the "When You Are the Moon."
Classic.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't think we can, like, there can be, I think gravity generally works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. we'll come up with the rest of it as we go. I like that the skull in the sky, that is like a what you would call it. It's like a place setting or a marker or a bookmark. It's a reminder to us that this is weird. It sets the tone.
And I'm going to make a note of this in our document while I pitch you the next question. Are there any spirit worlds, alternate dimensions, novel planes of existence, or other cosmological locales generally associated with the world? I don't think you want to go to the skull.
Yeah, but people are, since the dawn of time, humans have debated the origin and purpose of the skull in the sky. You know what I mean?
Now, with modern science and American know-how.
Like, the description for this question is really good. It says, don't worry about gods just yet, but think about whether there are any heavens or hells or crawling darks that the natives of this world would likely know about. Of course, some such alternate planes might be established later in the backdrop creation as secrets known only to sages or sinister priests. So really what we're asking here is there a heaven and hell? And I want to say no.
Cool.
I want this to be heaven and hell. I want this world to be some kind of fucked up afterlife reality, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, that's the fantastical aspect about it. I don't know is that commonly done in fantasy fiction and storytelling?
So I can think of two things that are loosely adjacent to that.
Okay, let's hear them.
One of them is the single book 3.0 setting for D&D Ghost Walk.
Oh God, that book is awesome.
Yeah, it is. For those of you who missed it, when this one book came out, it was a world where there's this huge city built above the gates of the dead. And people had to actually take bodies there to pass through the gates of the dead. And the dwarves were like the guardians of the door. And as a result, in this city, like, if you died, you could just start taking levels of ghost, like, for your character. It was very, very strange. That's not quite the same thing. And then the other one that I just read recently, as I was, I mentioned when we recorded a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, I kind of like the new Planescape book. One of the factions, I think it's the Bleak Cabal, basically believes that you already died and you're in an afterlife. It's like a false afterlife. And then, in a very sort of Blood of Vol twist, you have to ascend to undeath so you can die a real death and get on to whatever the next stage of existence is.
Interesting.
Which is cool.
What I would like to do, and I think this piggybacks on what you just said, but what I would like to do is advance the clock. Like, in fantasy, there's always these like epic things that must be defeated or else, right? The prophesized main character must find this sword and then learn how to use it and then fight the big bad and save everybody. And what I would like to do with this setting is say that didn't work.
Okay.
This setting is the result of the hero failing to fully realize their destiny. And to creatively answer this question, yes, there are alternate dimensions. This is the forced afterlife. This is the effect of whatever the big bad was trying to do. And it is hedging out reality. Do you know what I'm saying? So the other dimensions are like the prime material plane, so to speak. And this is hedging out reality so that people have no choice but to live in whatever the fuck this is, where there's no stars and there's this giant skull in the sky. And I don't know, the fucking seas are made of blood or something. I don't know. It's just like really fucked up shit where it's like people are trying to hedge out a life and survival in this nightmare reality that is like almost fully realized as a result of this original hero failing. And a big part about this world is that the prophecy has never been completely answered properly. There's always been misinterpretations of it. And what could be cool about this is that the player characters figure out that it actually hasn't happened yet. That moment that they thought this other hero was supposed to do, it hasn't happened yet. Or they have a second chance to make it happen or something like that. What do you think?
So one of the story narrative themes we're doing is hope.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, but hope in like a really bleak, you know what I mean? Like if you figure out how to travel between dimensions, you could go to like what we understand as a fantasy world, and then that would appear as like a heavenly like place compared to where the player characters are from, like for some reason I'm picturing the aesthetic of Diablo 4 without all the tons of demons, or maybe there are tons of demons. I don't know, but I'm not a huge fan of Diablo 4 as an actual game. It's just not my bag. It's a really cool game, but I fell in love more with the music, the way the costuming, the bleak reality of it all, the way the people acted, towards you, just the way life was still trying to like carry on despite this completely bleak campaign setting. So I'd like to just steal that particular aspect and place it in this reality where this game where there's a skull in the sky.
Okay. I'm with you.
All right, cool. Big surprise.
Are there any grand global scale empires or groups that impinge on the campaign scope?
For sure.
Okay.
All right. If so,
name in a two-sentence description.
Start over. Do it.
Sorry. Name in a two-sentence description.
The name of the empire in a two-sentence description?
Yes.
Okay, let's think about what this empire is. So this is probably the empire of the big bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So maybe we need to focus on that specifically. Like, although I like the idea of the big bad being so far into their process that they are detached from this empire. Like
it's running on autopilot from
yes.
like some like 5th tier lieutenant.
Yes. So what would be the question then is, does the empire have like a place name? Is it a kingdom name? Is it like a name of dread? You know what I mean? Like, is it a name they manufactured?
Oh, I think they picked whatever fake Latin sounding thing sounded the scariest, like the Pax Osseous, the piece of bone.
Is that real? The Pax? Would you just say the Pax Osseous?
Well, I mean, I might be Greek. I'm mixing.
I love it.
I think Pax means peace and Osseous means related to bone. So
perfect.
All right. The Pax Osseous.
It sounds so ominous.
I know, right? That's
yeah.
I'm one of the things I'm thinking about this. I don't know how we fit this into a sentence. I saw this thing come across one of my social media feeds, and it's like one of the I think 2 surviving like seals of the Mongol Empire, like the passport, like that basically says like if you lay a finger on this person, you everyone you've known, your whole civilization is dead, just dead. Like. We will scour the dust that is left of you from this world if you touch these people, and we can.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, what if it's just like, oh man, I'm getting it's basically giant bone wagons, like with the code of law that is writ on them that just kind of crawl across the land. And whenever you're in range of one, you're in the empire. Congrats, citizen. Time to pay your taxes. Like,
I love it. Yeah, this ominous empire has defeated and killed like all of the greatest things that could oppose it.
Yeah.
So it's a kingdom of bones. It's the structures are built from the bones of dead gods, practically.
Yeah.
You know, um,
They just roll around 4 deep in the corpses of their enemies.
yeah, and it's like their primary form of technology is based on utilizing the precious materials that come about from a dying god, right? Or these dying magical creatures, you know, like technology in this world has manifested itself because like the skin, the muscle, the sinew, the bones, the eyeballs of these creatures and beings that they defeated and killed still have somewhat magical properties to them. So it's recreated technology in this world because now it's commonplace for people to create things out of bone from this tradition based on these past events.
Yep.
All right. I would also, maybe this is too basic bitch of an idea when it comes to fantasy, but I like the idea that this empire is self-destructing.
Okay.
What do you think? Because I think we have to offer the player characters some measure of hope and opportunity in the setting. You know, like I don't want to be so bleak that the players are just like, well, I don't know, we don't do anything. Like, how do you get anything done in this world?
Yeah, they're this I wrote, and just to get this idea out, tell me what you think. They're self-destructing under a lack of enemies to fight.
Mm-hmm. They've turned on each other.
Yep.
And I would posit that this is all part of the process as well.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like the big bad's evil plan that's about to hit that moment of fruition is counting on this,
Mm-hmm.
that the empire is cannibalizing itself, essentially. Right?
It's flincing itself to the bone.
All right.
Okay. How interconnected are the parts of your world? Is it easy to move from one region to another? Do natives know a lot about their more distant neighbors? I'm thinking no. And I'm thinking this is very much going back towards like one of the things, as I've been reading a lot about Exalted and thinking about Dark Sun, the whole idea of like the Bronze Age versus like late medieval, which is what most of D&D is.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some very big differences in technology and warfare and styles. And so I think this is more of one of those, just for lack of resources, leans into the kind of the Bronze Age sort of thing.
Right.
And traveling far means you're crossing a Pax hold.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably don't want to do that unless you want to be real careful about maintaining the peace and following the law.
I love everything you just said. I would like to add the idea. We don't have to do it. I would like to add the idea of I unlike most men, I typically don't think about the Roman Empire very often. However, in this moment, I would like to use the example of great empires that overstretch their reach and cannot maintain that level of control.
So like all of them in the entirety of human history.
Yeah, but I was trying to make a joke about the Roman Empire and it didn't work.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm trying to say is that like this empire has overstretched its reach, is now caving in on itself, and the more distant communities or aspects of civilization from this empire have been left to their own devices. And that is where we get the almost good places for the party to encounter off in the distance.
Okay.
And it makes me think about, because everything does these days. And I brought this up to you before, so stop me if you've heard this one. But Minthara in Baldur's Gate 3 is a great companion character because she's evil as all fuck. but her worldview is so normal to her, to the point where she's like slaves and murder and treachery and war, like these are all just so commonplace. She talks about them so matter of factly. And I like the idea of creating distant civilizations that are technically under the wings of the empire, but have had to create, like, been left to their own devices. So they're like almost like anti-hero civilizations, or they're civilizations that are kind of good, but have like, they leave it a bad taste in your mouth. Like they had to pay a price to be that way.
Yeah, I think I love this too. The other idea I was kicking on this, just like as a thematic piece, is like the whole thing, because one of the things I really like to listen to is podcasts about the deaths of civilizations. Not just Dan Carlin, like
yes,
other ones too. And like the whole thing, I think Dan Carlin said it in his book, "The End is Always Near." Wow, we just went real bros having a podcast there, didn't we? Like, what does it mean to be a civilization? We'll come up with a terrible answer here in a second.
Yep.
But the idea of like, how much of human history have people spent living in the ruins of people that were clearly more advanced than them?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking about that in this world. How many people live a life like that, but that more advanced civilization built out of fucking bone?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a bone aqueduct running across carrying blood across your shitty valley that you like try and scrap roots out of the ground in.
Yeah, this is the world that all of the, exasperated wizard-like characters, told our heroes about in stories. Like, oh, if so-and-so wins, they'll cast the world in darkness. Blood will run through the rivers, locusts, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is that world. It happened. So, like, we need to put it on a grand scale. So I love everything you're saying right now.
Okay, cool. So yeah, not connected.
Correct.
Disconnected imperial remnants and city-states crouching in the corpse of their once great forebearers. It's just like, liches all the way down.
Yeah. Liches are so common. There's like sub liches. They're like bogged down in bureaucracy. Like,
yeah. Sub lich means mayor in this world.
Yeah. Like being a lich just isn't good enough in this world.
Okay. And then here's the last one. And I'm going to do an answer that might be bad. Are there any vast global events that have happened recently? I want to say no.
Okay.
I want to say it's just spiraling down ever so slowly. Like, it's been so long since anything like earth-shaking happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like that it just feels really stagnant, or it feels really, really like that, breath before the plunge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got to look at it like there was a still pond and somebody threw a gigantic rock into the middle of it and it made these ripples. And between the ripples, the further out it gets, the more space there is in between. And that's what's happening right now, is the space in between. And it has been going on for a very long time before the next ripple hits.
Okay.
Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Are we going to go back to the first question now, or are we going to save that all the way to the end? Because I think we have the name of this world. I think we already have it.
Skull World.
Doomsville. No.
Boner.
We'll save that. We'll save that to the very end.
I want Man, what if the people, okay, I just had an idea. This might
Let's
be
hear it.
really over, I get overwrought sometimes,
Sure.
but like, what if people just said like, like we live on Earth? What if they just called it Neath the Gaze?
Neath the gaze.
Yes. Like they don't even bother to say the beneath anymore. They look up at the skull and they say, neath the gaze.
I like it. I like it. I also like beneath.
Okay. Beneath the gaze.
Yeah. Well, I could go with any of these, right? Like the name of the world is Beneath the Gaze, but they just shorten it down to beneath or
Oh,
the
beneath.
beneath. What do you
Like
think?
B apostrophe NETH.
But what you said works for me too. It all works for me. I like the idea of the world being named according to this giant skull in the sky that's staring you down.
I think it's just BNEATH.
Or, I mean, it could be whatever we want. It's a world of fantasy and mystery.
Beneath.
Yeah, because
The
typical.
world of beneath is born, for beneath the gaze, the Pax Osseous rolls in their doom wagons across. I don't know.
So beneath the gaze or neath the gaze? Let's
That's
choose
just a
one.
common idiom. The world's called beneath.
Okay. I can go in either of those directions. What's next?
Okay. We need to decide what level we want to step down to next. The book has region.
Okay.
And if we're looking for the region, we are basically going to look at page 118.
118. This is the level that covers the cluster of nations or civilizations most relevant to the intended scope of the campaign. So we're talking nations, tribal groups, marauders, churches, faiths, religions in the area, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So, first things first, follow the steps below on page 118 to flesh it out.
Mm-hmm.
Region level. Question, what is the name of the region? Gosh, we haven't really identified any themes to work with on this.
I mean, like stuff with like bones and like death and darkness and blood.
The Marrow Fells.
The Marrow Fells. I love it. We should also do something with maggots.
Okay.
But I like the Marrow Fells.
Which sounds better, the Maggot Mountains or the Mountains of Maggots? I think it's the second one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, 6 geographical features. Page 120.
Page 120. Ooh, are we going to get to roll?
Yep.
All right, let me get a D20 by typing in dice roller.
Oddly, I don't actually have any physical dice on my desk either.
This is what happens when you play with a virtual group, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Rolling dice. I got a 16.
Okay. A 16 is a sand desert.
Perfect.
Except it's not sand, it's teeth. Oh, God.
I love that.
Okay.
Did you have to say that in the voice of Zorak, though?
Yeah. Wait, that wasn't Zorak.
That was somebody else.
Yeah.
I think that was Beavis from Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, teeth deathers are cool. No, teeth deathers are evil. Where'd you learn to talk like that? Hattiesburg.
Wow. That is a blast from the past right there, my friend. I love it.
Did you just call it the desert of teeth?
Yes.
I mean, they're worn down, erosion, wind, but it's suspiciously ivory-like grains of sand, we'll say.
I like it. I like the idea of scooping up sand into your hand and looking at it, and it's fucking teeth.
Man, Pickens, I got to tell you this. I think you've heard the story. Picking up something, especially like out of your Crocs, and expecting rocks and finding its teeth is a top tier horrifying experience.
Yeah, you have some experience with this, don't you?
Yeah,
In Mongolia.
That's why I was so. Yeah, that's why I was so creeped out. My point is, if you're traveling to places called the killing fields, maybe don't wear Crocs.
Yeah, you don't want to get any of the killing in your Crocs.
Yeah, none of the
never
human
get that
teeth.
out.
Yeah, not coming out. Okay, so let's get another one. We'll flesh this out in a second.
Okay,
but let's just get our major landmarks.
No pun intended there. All right. Let's try this. We got a 14.
14 is Rocky Hills.
Okay. That fits very well. Can we continue with the same theme? Like what can we have in addition to the rocks in these hills? How about like shields that are like stuck into the ground?
Or like some of the hills are just made from piles of shields, like ancient and rusted, or
yeah, not completely though. Like they have the base of being rock, or even better, dwarves. Just like dead dwarves. Like somebody pulled them up out of the ground. I don't know if you're even doing dwarves in this group, in this campaign setting. But like
I don't know if they make sense.
You don't know if it makes sense. Okay.
I like your shields idea. What if, for the history of this place, this was one of the last empires to resist the Pax, and this is where they were defeated, and they had to lay down their shields, and they did them in such number that it forms this like pretty hilly region. Like,
yeah. I love what we're doing right now because we are using the slide flourish method of like, if you're gonna make a place for people to go, fucking make it epic.
Yeah. When we get to the third episode of this one and make a race. Oh my God.
Yep. That's what we're doing. This will be a 3-part, just like with the cyberpunk one. And the third part, instead of making the first adventure, will be the species that inhabit beneath. All right, roll again.
The Shield Hills. We'll just give it a tentative name. And this is the other thing too, like in this process. So basically all we're doing is like, we're getting the thing from the table and then like, what's the most metal thing you can think of?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, and it all started, I think, back with our original prompt. If we had said, that the moon was like a giant happy face, we'd probably have a very different campaign setting.
If we ever do like Patreon content, we should do that. We should make another setting and make it a smiley face and then just do a whole series of episodes around creating the opposite of whatever monstrosity we're making right now. People are going to be
I think the skull smiles on that idea. It's a thing people say in this world.
I'm starting to see a theme here, like this cyberpunk setting, this bleak cyberpunk setting, this bleak fantasy setting, this bleak science fiction setting you guys have made. I'm starting to see a theme here. All right.
Hey, that when we fill the the stars with the wasted and ruined remains of a humanity that died alone in the night.
Yeah.
Because something messed up their ability to travel faster than light.
Yes.
That won't be bleak.
Yeah, our science fiction setting will start with like Earth. They had to leave Earth. They left in this massive fleet, and they were all like, "All right, everybody hit whatever light speed is in this universe, and we'll see you on the other side." And nobody fucking made it. All right.
Keep that idea, because that gives me an idea for the next terrain feature.
Okay. Perfect. All right. I'm rolling again. I got a 19.
19. A volcano.
Oh, perfect. A volcano of bile.
Oh, okay.
That's like shaped like a giant lizard's head. And it's just like spitting up dragon breath all over the surrounding countryside. What do you think?
I love that idea. Where do people actually live?
They try to live in this fucked up shit.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
they're not
it's
going to
funny,
live
like
on a volcano. Come on, you could be cool with that one. Let them live in the shield fucking part. I don't know.
Everything I'm thinking of for a possible name for this is just too on the nose, like the Dragon Maw, or like that's yeah.
Yeah. That is a bit too much.
I mean, the
But
Bile Mount. Like,
all right, call it the Bile Mount. Look, we can change any of these later. When
okay.
this becomes the next campaign setting for our 5e D&D group,
they'll know they've really pissed us off.
yeah, for sure.
All right, give me another one.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, this is where people can live. 13.
A rainforest.
Vast, damp, and green, baby.
It's like just one giant fungal mold.
Yeah. I like that. So the most of the natural, what would be wildlife in this area was destroyed, and fungus like grew like crazy. You know what I mean? So it's like this that and it's like forest only in terminology.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
Very
not
similar sort of ecosystem to a rainforest, but everything is I don't know.
fungus.
I put the spore wood.
Sporewood is awesome.
All right. We need two more.
Okay.
I hope we get one of the really weird ones.
I got a number 10.
10. Light forest.
Mm-hmm.
The Sporewood Annex.
Interspersed with other terrain, it says in the description.
Yeah, it's probably like I'm picturing like there's the Shield Hills, and then there's this area interspersed with the hills, and then you get into the Sporewood. It's kind of a big arc.
I like the idea of a forest that has grown around death and destruction. So the trees are all in these like horrible shapes. There's this is really weird, but in my neighborhood, there is a tree that somebody dressed up for Halloween and they never took it down. They never took down the decorations, which I think is fucking awesome, but it is scary as fuck. Maybe I'll take a picture of it the next time I'm over there. But there's like a face they put on it, and they just kept adding shit. So there's like these like reaching clawed hands, and it evokes the idea of a tree that has mutated into almost human-like poses. Like I'm thinking of like when a beholder turns people to stone or whatever, and there's in D&D fantasy, and there's like fields of people in stone. Like, what about trees that have grown around dead bodies and skeletons of defeated armies, and they're all like trapped in these poses, you know, these like death visages, where the trees don't look like humans, but like if you squint, they kind of do. You know what I mean? They kind of look like humanoid figures, crying out to the heavens, or the giant skull.
The grass sea, no.
Is this going to be one of our normal, in quotes, areas, or is there going to be something fucked up here too?
I have an idea for. I don't know. I like this. We'll call it the Plowvex Plains.
Okay.
Like plow, like a plow, and then vex, like a curse.
Okay.
That's not great, but I like the idea if we flesh this out that like this is actually a fairly decent place. Like the grass is normal grass. Like it's not like literally like scrape away an inch of topsoil and there's just the leering faces of 1,000 slain children or something like that. But there's some like weird Pax law that's like no one can do things here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And no one remembers why. It's just like periodically, like the machinery of Empire sends patrols out and they just kill and burn anything they find in the boundaries of this.
I like it.
Totally arable land, could totally support a lot of people. Maybe there's some rivers that are mostly water, less blood, but like there's just some ancient law no one understands.
I love it.
Oh, maybe they're not even sentient undead. There's just like a horde of patrolling skeletons that were set to this task so long ago.
Cool. I like it.
Okay, cool. So now we're going to do one roll terrain feature details. I think we won't do this for all of them for the podcast, but we'll just pick one and we'll expand upon it with a one roll table. This is a really cool thing Kevin Crawford does, where you basically pick up your whole set, your D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, D20, and you roll them all, and then it just paints a whole picture. The categories we're looking at is how populated is the feature, how dangerous is the feature, what use is the feature, what kind of event last happened there, what antagonists are common there, and then an optional quirk.
Okay. Busting out the physical dice for this one.
Huzzah.
So you said a D4, a D8, a D6, a D20, D12?
Yep. Which one we doing?
Let's roll that D6. How dangerous is the feature?
Well, it's the D4 first, but which one do we want to do this for?
Oh, okay. Which one of our regions?
For our geographical feature.
Yeah, the Desert of Teeth.
Okay.
So how populated is this feature? We use a D4. I'm rolling that D4. I got a 1.
Almost unpopulated.
I wonder why.
I mean, seems nice.
I mean,
D6.
as if living in a desert wasn't difficult enough.
Yeah.
All right, D6. I got a 4.
How dangerous is this feature? It's unusually dangerous in several ways.
All right. What a mystery. All right, and then D8. What use is the feature?
Mm-hmm.
I got an 8.
A mighty working is still functioning there.
Oh, what working is capitalized. What is a mighty working?
So it's basically like a great spell or magical effect from some ancient era of history.
Perfect.
So that spell that spontaneously creates teeth?
Yeah, it's still sucking all the teeth out of people when they die. Like, you know how in our world, when you die, you shit and piss yourself? In this world, you also lose all of your teeth.
Your teeth all fly out. You know? People try to position their enemies on the battlefield to be like to have their army be the front line of the army is between the desert of teeth because they hope when they die the teeth will get sucked out and ripped through the troops behind them.
Yeah. Little known fact, the big bad of this world is the Tooth Fairy.
I kind of love that. I don't know.
We can do it. We can do it.
Okay. We'll detail the working later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And then D10 is what kind of event happened there. And let me get a D10 that I like here. Sorry. This is what happens when you live with nerds and they leave all their dice in your house and then move away. All right, got one. 3.
Ooh. A usurper and supporters fled into it.
Oh, wow. That's perfect. That goes very, very well with the empire cannibalizing itself from within.
I mean, I feel like all this time we've been doing on these tables, once I've had one that I'm like, I'm not sure that works. Like one time out of all the rolls, I think in our Cyberpunk episode, I asked for a reroll. Other than that, it's just like, well, that works.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like Kevin Crawford knows what he's doing.
Yeah, weird.
All right, we'll pull ourselves off his dick and get back to designing this campaign setting, at least for the time being. All right, D12.
Yep. Antagonists. What antagonists are common there?
6.
6. Oh.
I just saw it. Read it.
Elemental emanations of the disordered land.
Perfect. Are we going to go
tooth elementals?
Yes. 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 Constructs made of teeth. I'm picturing like the head of this thing is like a giant's tooth, and it's got like a decayed cavity in it. Oh, yep. I love it.
What do they see out of?
Great
Their
question.
Eye teeth.
Perfect.
And it was for that joke that he was banished to the desert of teeth.
All right. D20. Optional quirk of the feature. Optional. I got a 2.
2. It has a place in the national origin legend.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah. Our people came from the desert of teeth.
Our people came from teeth, and they'll return to the teeth when they're done.
Do you remember when our tribes wandered out of the desert of teeth? Pepperidge Farms remembers.
Perfect.
Well, now we're going to have to make a nation that this is like the Teethlanders.
Yes. The Teethlanders. Can we do that next?
Oh man, which one was it? Significant. Oh, what was the 12? 2. It has a place in the national origin legend.
Oh, next we're going to do the Shield Hills.
Oh, do you want to go ahead and one roll for him?
For the Shield Hills? Yeah.
Okay.
Roll in D4. Oh, do you want me to roll them all at once?
Roll them all at once.
That's probably the nerdiest thing I've ever done is roll dice into the microphone on my fucking role-playing game podcast.
It didn't pick up.
It didn't? Fantastic.
No. We'll have to record some B-roll of dice rolling.
All right. We got a 4 on our D4.
A rush of people have gone there.
To the Shield Hills.
Mm-hmm.
For our D6, we got a 5.
It will quickly kill the unprepared or unwary.
I want to know how. Something about the shields just like pushing themselves up through the rock like tombstones.
Yeah. I'm sure there's no like vengeful spirits of like the defeated army like that haunt the Shield Hills.
Okay, for our D8 we got a 5.
It has substantial productive infrastructure.
Oh,
because people mine it.
It's a great place. It's a great place to live and raise a family in a world where beneath the skull.
Shield Hills. If you lived here, you'd be home by now. And then the new expansion, Shield Hills Creek.
Shield Hills Creek.
Substantial productive infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. And then what kind of event last happened there? We got a 10. A natural
or uncanny disaster.
Say it again.
A natural or uncanny disaster struck there.
What could be considered a natural disaster in the Shield Hills?
Field slide.
Shield slide. All right, that's it. Okay, so D10, I got a 6.
6. Oh, wait, didn't you just tell me the D10? A natural disaster?
Oh, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. What are we on now?
Antagonist, the D12.
Oh, that one is a 2.
Angry cultists of a local faith. What do the people of the Shield Hills believe? Someday the Pax will weaken and our ancestors will return to pick up their shields once more. Stop mining the shields.
So are we agreed that the shields are just spontaneously rising out of the stone? Like there's no rhyme or reason for it?
Yeah.
So the faith is that there's a group of people that live in the Shield Hills that are descendant of most of the people that died there, like the soldiers. Like these were the children, spouses, the sick and elderly or whatever that weren't part of this army. And they believe that the shields are gifts from the ancestors in an attempt to arm them for like a last battle style scenario. So, that their whole faith is around like these ancient soldiers returning to reclaim their shields. What do you think?
If you don't have the blood, don't disturb the shields. They're not yours. But whoever else, whatever kingdom or petty fiefdom is nearby is like, we can melt down the metal on these to just make tools that are actually capable of chopping through bone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like it's a potential resource that is mostly being underutilized because there is a religious fetish around it.
Yep. And this is where we set the very closely mapped to Bone Tomahawk adventure.
Yes. Yes. This is that setting for sure. Yeah, definitely.
All right. And then optional quirk.
18.
Rulership of the feature is widely disputed.
That makes sense. with an empire that's caving in on itself and a local power structure that is connected to ancestry of these shields and the soldiers that died here. That makes a lot of sense.
Cool.
All right. What's next? The Bile Mount?
Let's move on to the kingdom.
Okay. Which page is the kingdom on?
119.
Okay.
And kingdom, Crawford points out, doesn't have to be taken literally. This could be a tribal land. This could be, like any sort of polity, but it's some sort of group of connected peoples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is the first level that's likely to include facts and details that matter to your very first session of play.
Okay. So we're going to start with the first basic step.
Pick a linguistic touchstone.
Okay. And then it says pick a linguistic touchstone and give your kingdom or area a name. Okay. So what is a linguistic touchstone? Like something that everybody calls the kingdom, or?
No, I mean, it's the naming pattern or language you're kind of basing it on. He points out, well, I'll just read this passage real quick.
Go for it.
This language is likely the tongue of the current or historical dominant group in the region. Conventional fantasy names tend to be random nonsense syllables picked from the creator's cultural phoneme stock, and places often end up as some city of adjective noun or the noun river. While some of this can work perfectly well, it's easier for the GM to pick some obscure or extinct real-world language known to nobody at the table and use it for names. Even if the words they use have no relation to what they're naming, the consistent set of sounds and syllable patterns will help give it a coherent feel to the work.
That makes sense. So instead of creating a generic fantasy name for a kingdom, it's just like use a word. Create a word.
I wonder.
Well, didn't we already do this with the Pax Osseous?
Well, that's them.
Mm-hmm.
They got Latin sounding names in places.
Mm-hmm. So didn't we just do that?
Well, we're not making the Pax, we're making one of the kingdoms at the edge.
No, well, right. But what I'm saying is, like, let's not make it too difficult on ourselves. Let's use the same linguistic touchstone.
Okay.
What do you think? I mean, I'm inclined to just make a place called Blur. Yeah. Let's see. What was the old naming convention we used to use when I was a kid? We would take a celebrity name and then try to pronounce it backwards. All right. So, all right. Here we go. Here's one for you. Remlik Lav. That's Val Kilmer backwards. I like
Kingdom of
Remlik.
Vav.
Remlik. What do you think? Remlik Lav. And then people could, when we publish this setting, people would be like, this kingdom's name is Val Kilmer backwards? We're like, yes, it's metal as fuck.
I was trying to see I was trying to see if I could find the Indo-European language dictionary.
Oh, wow.
But that actually is too close in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's crazy.
What about Isurik Mott?
What's
That's
that?
Tom Cruise backwards.
I'm gonna fuck with the spelling, but I like it. I got distracted reading a webpage, which is great for a podcast.
Yeah, thanks. I'll just edit that out. Make it sound like we're talking all over each other. Ugh.
Kingdom. I spelled Mott, Motd.
No.
Throw him off the trail.
Yeah, nobody will know what we're talking about.
Isurek Mott.
Isurek Mott. Perfect.
History. Ooh, we get to roll on a history table.
What page is that on?
I'm trying to find it. Ah, okay. Here we are, starting on page 136. So first, we're going to roll a D8.
Okay.
And we're trying to determine where did the people who are now dominant here originate.
I got a 5.
They were magically created or shaped here.
Perfect.
And what became of the original inhabitants?
Let's find out by rolling D10. I got an 8.
Eight. They retained small areas of self-rule. Ooh, that's a potential conflict.
Oh, definitely.
And then let's get like 2 historical crises they overcame on their way to power.
All right, roll D100 for a historical crisis.
Yep. Or for the crisis, yeah.
24. Economic
24.
collapse.
Ooh. This is great because we can kind of stat this out and see where it leads and then figure out where to put it on our sort of general map of the region. And how did they overcome the crisis?
They overcame it by rolling a D10 and getting an 8.
Was that easy?
Jesus.
Industrious labor and tireless. I think I know who these people are now.
Are we going to pitch or are we going to keep going?
Let's keep going.
All right, D12.
Yep. What was great about it at its peak?
I got a 12. Wonderful works of architecture were built.
From bone.
And then why did it fail at the final crisis?
I don't think there has been the final crisis yet.
Oh. I was just reading the next table in anticipation.
Yep. Cool. We've got a history.
Are we ready to pitch?
Yeah.
This kingdom was one of the last holdouts, one of the most difficult kingdoms to subjugate and conquer. And even when it was, the people rebelled so often and so effectively that they just decided to create new people.
I love it.
To replace them.
Yeah. Yeah. They just made them.
They just made them. Yeah. We just made new people.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Well, this is a bleak, horrible world.
No, that wasn't a knock against it. No. All right. Well, we've got the nation. Since we're not working with a border, we don't really need to do population or urbanization or city placement. So let's see. Disputes with neighboring states.
Okay. What page?
Page 125. Sorry. And we're looking for a D20 on that one.
All right. $125. Got a 2.
2. Ownership of a resource site is disputed. These are the miners.
Yeah,
These
there
are
you
the
go.
miners of the Shield Hills.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these guys didn't march to the aid of the Shield people.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I like that. The Shield people.
Yeah, whatever their original name was, nobody knows anymore. Nobody cares.
Mm-hmm. Are we going to roll for our current national problems?
Yep.
Okay. I got a 1. Jeez. Critical
Farmland
failure.
is becoming worn out and depleted.
Oh, that's obvious.
Yeah. Farmland depletion.
Ooh. So this is in the Shield Hills area, right?
I think their border is on the Shield Hills.
What if the farmland is growing swords or weapons?
Oh, fuck yes.
You know what I mean?
They're like planting corn and it's getting,
Yeah. Like this is fucking biblical and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
and it's spreading out from the border.
Like here's the thing about the Shield Hills or whatever this area is like this was like the best chance of an actual survivable, livable place. And the world itself will not let that happen. Like the ancestor warriors who died in this location will not let people live in peace and survive. They are forcing them to fight.
Yeah.
So there will be no farmable land. There will be no hospitable structures. Like weapons and shields and armor and shit are just like basically growing out of the ground, like making the area unlivable. It is forcing them to take up arms and fight as part of the last part of the prophecy, the last battle, so to speak.
Yeah, and what do you think the Pax's policy on owning weapons is?
Yeah. I don't think they like it very much.
No.
Yeah. It's kind of raised some eyebrows back at HQ.
Yeah. They've got a rigorous evidentiary system of justice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I imagine that there are people who are like farming, like farmers who are pulling up these weapons and like hiding them.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do with them. So they're like stockpiling weapons.
Like their kids are out there weeding daggers out of the fields.
Yeah. It's fucking bleak.
Positive ties with a neighboring state.
Oh.
Because there could be more than one state in this region.
Sure. I got a 10.
They gave critical aid during a disaster.
What did that look like?
They needed swords for something.
If only we had something to rebuild our houses with. They gave critical aid during a disaster. I mean, the obvious thing is they use the weapons and the armor, but I feel like we're waiting on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to put an asterisk next to that because later down the road, when we flesh out another kingdom, we can identify.
That's a great idea.
And then good things happening right now.
Oh,
maybe
boy.
In this world, we don't roll on that. But...
Yeah. This table is omitted in this bleak fantasy world. All right. I got a 15.
I was going to like crap my pants if you said 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
A helpful working has been activated.
Oh.
I'm sure there's nothing side effect to do with swords.
I mean, that kind of just wrote itself, right?
Yep.
Now, is the helpful working, like, so is the weapons, the call to arms event, is that a working that's not helping them? Because it's causing a problem.
It could be.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe we want to look at like what was our the Desert of Teeth hasn't a magical working. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
I don't
All
think
right.
we have to be too literal with it. A working is
Mhm.
basically an ancient magic that sort of bends the laws of what things can do.
Okay.
All right. Um, national traits. Do we want to do that?
Yeah, I've got national themes. Where are national traits?
Sorry, that's page 126. Yeah, same page.
Okay. Roll 1d20 for national themes for thematic element. I got a 13. Hope.
Oh,
You know, if I was going to be critical about one part of our season 2 creation, creation without number series, it's that we kind of roll right into what we're making a lot.
yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, look, it's there. And that, you know, we have to provide hope in a bleak setting. Otherwise, people aren't going to want to play it. So I think it's an important one to keep.
Yeah. No, I like it. Let's keep it.
The question is how does that apply to the nation in question?
Well, they're the best people.
We got the best people.
They were made to be the best people.
That's right. They were literally made to be the best people.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the hope description says the nation is imbued with a sense of hope and potential, the promise of a better day to come and a brighter future for those who win through their present problems. There may have been a recent discovery of some great trove of resources, some magical or technological innovation that promises great results, or the rise of a beloved house of seemingly blessed rulers.
Okay.
Let's make the society and then see if that gives us any ideas.
Okay. All right. Roll a d4.
Mm-hmm.
Got a
We're
4.
making the people who live here. What'd you get?
Got a 4.
4. They are much bigger and bulkier than their neighbors.
Because they were created to be so.
Yeah. Congrats. We made hopeful orcs.
Yeah, that's very hope punk of us.
Ooh.
Typical skin colors.
Yeah, I would say if I didn't see the back end of this table, I would shy away from this and say let the players decide. But
for the listening audience, Scales for unusual hide type is in this table.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna do the straight white guy thing and roll on this table.
Uh-huh.
Okay, got number 7.
An unusual color or pattern of colors.
Okay, pattern of colors. Thematically sticking with like colors of death or blood. So like,
What if they're just like straight rust orange, like Oompa Loompas?
oh, their entire skin? I was because I was keying in on the word patterns. Like everybody has these like splotch patterns on their faces or bodies that are almost like tattoo like, but they occur like birthmarks, but they're humongous.
Okay.
What do you think?
I like it. They're
So
like
you
bright
can,
blood red.
well, there could be variations, right? There could be like a coppery red, a brown, like they're variations of blood, like fresh blood, dried blood. You could create different cultural elements around that.
Yep.
And then the patterns they form in, where they're located on the body, like this entire civilization is like, you know, you're destined to do different things based on like location, pattern, coloration, and it's all, you know, it either is self-fulfilling, or it's part of this prophecy, or it's complete bullshit. It's up to the player character.
Okay.
What do you think?
I like it. Let's go with it. And then I
Okay.
think I want to pick off the table for hair color.
Okay. Yeah. That's
I think they
allowed.
lack hair. They don't have hair.
Okay. All right. Then I would like to amend the last thing then.
Oh, okay.
But you can veto this if you want. You know I trust you.
No, go for it.
So what about the blood coloration is on the top of the head or in place of hair? Like a skull pattern.
Like a skull cap tattoo, sort of.
Yeah, except it's like a naturally occurring like bruise or birthmark kind of looking thing, since they have no hair.
Okay.
What do you think? You could, like I said, you can veto. It might be too tacky.
No. So if it's like very clearly,
The blood
if
crown.
it twists the perception of being a thing that could just naturally happen through our understanding of genetics, like if there's like sharp points and stuff and they're like kind of symmetrical, I'm in for it. If it's just random blotches, I'm less into it being on the top of the head.
Well, I want to do the version you're into. So what how do we make that happen?
It's
Symmetrical.
like they're born with blood colored tattoos on the top of their head.
That's even better. Let's do it.
Okay. Cool.
Because then when we have people create characters, you can require them to come up with their own pattern, and you can require them to invest some time in like what it looks like and what's its significance and how has it affected you, during the growth cycle of this species.
Yeah. Cool.
You want me to roll for eye coloration?
Natural blood hued tattoos cover their scalp from birth. Okay. Eye coloration.
Want me to roll?
Yep.
4 grays, whether flat or metallic.
I think metallic grays.
Mm-hmm. I dig that. Do we want to do optional common forms of adornment?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got a 6.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Right? Reroll.
Yeah, powdered hair shaving.
Yeah. Number 10. Worn weapons, tools, or trade implements. Yes.
Yeah.
The stuff that's coming up from the ground, they have no choice but to fucking like adorn themselves in it.
And then optional physical quirk or traits.
Okay, D20. Natural 1.
They possess an extra eye somewhere.
Oh, can that be up to the player characters, or are they eyes in a specific place?
I'm thinking eyes without a face.
Eyes without a face. What do you mean?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I just had a Billy Idol moment. Sorry.
Oh, the only thing I know by Billy Idol is White Wedding, which is the only thing everybody else knows.
Oh, there's also Eyes Without a Face.
Well,
And the first album produced entirely on a computer was Billy Idol's Cyberpunk.
Oh, okay.
It is not good. Do not listen to that while you play your Cyberpunk game.
Okay, so where are these eyes found? Is it like random? Is it like certain, like, is it in the armpit? Is it on the face or head? Is it in the mouth?
Oh, God. I think it's like right between the shoulder blades, like on the spine.
Painful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. This is some fucked up fantasy shit right here.
Yeah, this is weird stuff. All right. Values of the society, page 130.
All right. Looks like we're rolling D100.
Mm-hmm. So we are going to basically look at what is important to these people. We're going to pick 2 or 3 traits that they esteem, and then maybe one they hate.
Okay. 96 for the first one.
Okay. Values they esteem.
Leadership and charisma in the group.
And
20.
20. Beauty and seductive charm.
Wow, they are charming and charismatic people.
And giants with an eye on their spine.
Covered in jewelry made from weapons.
There's an entire flirting code of like getting your shirt collar just down to wink at people with your.
Oh, okay. I like that. Little blinky blink.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is 65.
65. It doesn't make sense that they would hate excellence in one's profession or trade.
All right. Want to reroll?
Yeah.
I got an 8.
8. Eloquence and social no.
Okay, reroll. I got a 2.
Individual rights and freedom of action. There we go.
There's old reliable. When you need to make it bad, take away individual rights and freedom of action.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And then a major unit of social identity. We need to roll a d20. This is on page 131. Isn't this cool, though? Like,
yeah,
we know who these folks are now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all coming together. 17.
Okay. 17. Voluntary mutual assistance brotherhoods.
Interesting.
They're anarchists who hate individual rights, and they're very charming and like to wink at people with their back eyes.
That's right. Well, that would make sense why they despise individuality or individual rights, I should say, if they're obsessed with voluntary mutual assistance brotherhoods. It's about the group. Stop putting yourself above everybody else. What's that? You're working too hard. You're making the rest of us look bad.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Ready
for social aesthetics, do we want to do an example template society?
I don't want to stay away from that. I mean, we can roll on it just for shits and giggles, but I feel like we kind of got something of our own working right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just want to do, I mean, like look at what some of the options are, like modern day America, Renaissance Italy. Like maybe we can use these to kind of like finalize the idea, but I feel like we're going to do a lot of re-rolling.
No, they're super into athleisure and joggers and hoodies. They're just
yeah. And lo-fi Zelda chill playlists.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. We'll skip that one.
Yeah. I can see why this table is here. I just don't think we need it.
Cool. Well, we've been at it for about an hour now.
Fantastic. Another successful episode of the Jaunty Mantis. What are we going to do in part 2? This was part 1.
Yeah, so we're going to get into creating a government for our kingdom. That's really where we would start having some hooks to basically build something, and then we might talk about the gods and create a religion.
I hope so.
Maybe some temples, flesh out our malevolent cult that lives in the Shield Hills, and then pick a couple ruins and points of interest to stick around in our kingdom as possible adventure sites. And I think we're going to call it good there.
Yeah. And then what are we going to do for episode 3? For the cyberpunk version of this creation without number, we did a starter adventure. We're not doing that for this one. What are we doing for this one?
We are going to create... Well, we're going to do what we just did. I think we may have got ahead of ourselves there. We're going to create a playable character species.
Yeah. Picture the player handbook, right? And an entry for an option for someone to make a character. And we've already started that process, but we are specifically going to flesh this out in like species abilities or common classes or whatever, how they like adventure in the world, stuff like that.
Yep.
All right. Jesse,
any other thoughts how this went?
I think you like great.
What you didn't like?
I'm biased. Well, we had some fun today, didn't we, listeners? Jesse, if the listeners want to get in touch with us and tell us stories, ideas of their own, about their own fantasy series, how can they get in touch with us?
Well, you can, as long as you obey the proper rituals and perform everything underneath the gaze, you can reach us at jauntymantis@gmail.com. We are on the social medias at Jaunty Mantis or Jaunty Mantis on Hex. And you can reach me on Hex at Jingoist Fett.
Perfect.
And yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And you know what, listeners, if you have been inspired at all by our cyberpunk stuff or the fantasy version in season 2, and you're like, hey, I've got an idea for something that would go well in your world of Beneath, shoot it our way. Maybe we'll read it and add it to the thought process. I don't know. What do you think, Jesse? Is that a good idea?
I think that's a great idea.
All right. Yeah. But just keep it brief. All right. And for Jesse, I'm Matty, and this has been the Jaunty Mantis. And now it's time for our famous catchphrase, which is get out there and Kevin Crawford Sine Nomine.
Agency.
Yeah.